Welcome to Chai with Molly, a show where we celebrate diversity the Canadian way. I'm Molly and I look so much forward to seeing you every week on Saturday mornings at 11 a.m. on Rogers Channel 129. Thank you for tuning in, and most of all, thank you for all your emails and phone calls that you send us on a regular basis, letting us know what you think about our show. It means a lot to us. If you'd like to be a guest on our show or would like to advertise with us, please contact me at 647-979-3220. Change has come to Egypt once again. What this change is and how it is going to impact the lives of people living in Egypt. We have invited to our studio Mr. Sheref Sabawi. He is a Canadian of Egyptian descent, and he's going to help us understand what's happening in Egypt. But before we talk to him, let's take a look at this video. Mr. Sabawi, thank you for coming to our studio.
Nice to meet you.
Can you please bring us up to date as to what is going on in Egypt?
Well, we were talking a few months ago, talking about the change, which is taking off Mubarak of power and bringing the Egyptian people in power and trying to build democracy. Mm-hmm. And technically speaking, we've gone into a hiccup.
Yeah, what happened?
We ended up with an election which ended up with Muslim Brotherhood representative President Morsi, ex-President Morsi, in power, and despite the fact that not a lot of Egyptians think that Muslim Brotherhood was the right choice, people were willing to try anything after 30 years of Mubarak's government.
Right, so this was the government that the people of Egypt chose, they elected.
I wouldn't say 100% that. I would say people were looking for change.
Okay.
And the route of the revolution gone to is constitution, writing constitution, after the presidential election, which was totally a big mistake. I was opposing to it. A lot of Egyptians were opposing to it, but a lot of I would say a lot of fanatic Islamic groups pushed for writing the constitution after having the presidential election. And we didn't understand that in the time that much, but it obviously there was a plan taking over the presidential election, then writing the constitution which we want.
Okay, so now as we've seen this video clip, there are millions of people on the streets. It's like a sea of people.
Yes.
What is it that they're upset about? What is it that they want?
Well, let me give you the chronological order how things went.
Okay.
So after the presidential elections, there was not many choices. There was the Muslim Brotherhood choice, and there was Mr. Shafiq, General Shafiq, who he used to be part of the army in Mubarak's time. He
Okay.
was head of the Civil Aviation Agency. So the people viewed that as some of the people trying to revert back to the old regime.
Okay.
So he was viewed as part of the old regime, and that's
Okay.
where the rejection came from. And I know even in Canada here, a lot of Egyptians refuse to vote for him, not because they are opposing, like they are opposing to Morsi, but they don't want to give their vote to him, to Mr. Shafiq, because he is part of the old regime.
Okay.
So we didn't do the revolution to take Mubarak off to bring one of his assistant to power.
All right.
So they morally thought that, I don't really agree with Muslim Brotherhood, but I also don't agree to bring back the old regime.
Because that would have been a continuation
Yes.
of the same old, same old.
Which I would say majority of the people who gave, like I think in the first election, in the first round, Morsi got only 3 million or
Okay.
4 million, something like that. In this, some number is not that big. The second iteration, of the election, he got his people, which is the same number, plus the people who thought, you know what, we are not going to vote for the old regime, so we'll vote for Morsi to try something else. Like,
Okay.
not that I'm really agree with Muslim Brotherhood as much as I want to change, and if I voted to Shafiq, I'm returning back to the old regime.
Okay, so now give us a perspective. What has been most confusing for a whole lot of people who are not from that part of the world is how the army intervention.
Yes, so what happened after Morsi took over power is he tried to collect as much power he
So
can.
is this like a coup?
No. It's 100% opposite of that. So as I mentioned, when Morsi came, he did a presidential decree, which technically speaking took over any other power but his power.
Okay.
He put his decisions, like any decree, in a position that you can't challenge him in court, you can't challenge it, you can't revert it, you can't vote on it. So technically speaking, whatever he says is done. It's done deal.
Okay.
You can't account him for any of his decisions. You can't revert it. You can't challenge it.
Okay.
He took over the power from the Supreme Court to challenge the president. So he became a dictator immediately after that. Then the second step over that, he took over the army council, which was the people who handed him the power. He turned it around and took all the high ranks off. So he retired all the high-ranked officers, Mr. Tantawi and Anan and all the generals of the army. So he was trying to, technically speaking, he's trying to get army under his ruling. He's saying, I'm the boss here.
So did the army come out because they were upset?
No. At that time, he didn't come out. Actually, the generals, very professionally, they said, we handed the power to an elected president. He have the right now by the new decree that he can do whatever he want. So that's what he want. We are stepping down. And they stepped down. There was no any problems with that at all. That, which a lot of people thought that this is going to be a big major problem. Because
So then help us understand, because this is a big concern for
Yeah.
a lot of governments, Western
that's-
governments as well, is this intervention of the army.
let me continue to tell you what he did after that. So,
Okay.
so he after he did that, he took over the judicial system. He cut down the Supreme Court to half the number to take off the people he does not want in the Supreme Court. All the big judges who said this is unconstitutional. You can't do a decree saying the Constitution now cannot touch me. All that type of actions is not constitutional. So he went and said, okay, you know what? We'll take off those people from the Supreme Court. So now the Supreme Court become half of the members, which only have the members, they are less objecting to him, not the old judges, the big judges and stuff.
Right.
Then, after that, he removed all the governors and put governors who are aligned to Muslim Brotherhood. Just technically speaking, only Muslim Brotherhood members can go. So governors of all the major counties of Egypt. Then he removed all the ministers. He did all the ministers from Muslim Brotherhood. So technically speaking, he's defacing the country to be, if you are Muslim Brotherhood, you will be in power. If you're not Muslim Brotherhood, you stay home. Irrelevant to what skill set you have, irrelevant to if this even minister, like to bring down a minister to the Ministry of Investments, which is one of the biggest ministries in Egypt because we need a lot of investments to run the country. He brought an ex-salesman. That's all his qualification. He was an ex-salesman. He just, his main qualification, he's a Muslim Brotherhood. That's it.
All right.
He was the head of the campaign and the Muslim Brotherhood campaign or something like that. Have no whatever skills.
So what happened to all the women? Because there is a huge concern about what happened to women, what happened to minorities.
Yes. So they technically speaking is a new constitution, which is, it was written after the presidential, and it was appointed, all the appointed people appointed by the president and his group. So we ended up with one group of the Egyptians writing the constitution up to their.
So they changed the constitution also.
They said we need a new constitution. Okay. So who is writing the new constitution is appointed by the president and his group. So we ended up with one tone group writing a new constitution. So they can do whatever they want. And they just put symbolically one person from each other group, and those people withdrew. They said, we can't agree on this, and they withdrew. But they said, you know what, doesn't matter, we'll take it out, we'll take up the constitution, we'll do it for, like they did approved a petition on the constitution in one night. They go through all the articles in one night. It was an air. Saying,
no deliberation.
Do you agree? Like they even say, do you agree on this? Agreed people, the account, they said, oh, we didn't pass that. Guys, if we didn't approve it, we'll have to go back. We'll count again. They count again and they pass.
Okay.
Like it's funny. It was a big.
So there
drama.
was no input from the public what they wanted.
No. Okay. So that they said now we have a constitution which technically speaking do whatever they want. We can do whatever we want in the country. Okay. So they are trying. They attacked Azhar, which represent all the Sunnis Muslims. They attacked the cathedral, the Pope. Yeah. The first time in the history, the Pope Center get attacked by revolutionaries. They said revolutions. It's not revolutions. This is their Muslim Brotherhood group people. They are trying to scare out Christians from putting their input there. They don't want. They want to outside those numbers out. But
Christians are as indigenous to Egypt as anybody else.
Yes, but they know 100%. Like they can't get even one vote in the Christian side. Okay. They know that. So that's 15 million or whatever is the numbers between 12 and 18 is not going to vote for us. So the best thing is not vote at all.
Okay. All right. Now, obviously, whenever there is a revolution happening, there is polarization.
No, before we get into the polarization, let me talk to you about how did it started. Okay. Like now with everything changing, judges cannot challenge him anymore. Army is scared, like they are not doing anything. Technically speaking, he's saying like anybody will move a hand, will consider him a betrayer immediately. So he starts putting his grip over everything. Now there's a small young youth, 4 or 5 people, youth like in the age of 22, 23, 25 people. They said, what should we do now? They thought, okay, you know what? Very similar to what we do here. Let's do a petition. So they said, okay, we'll create a petition and I'll get people to sign with their IDs. So we know that this guy ID is there. Yeah. So they start collecting and all of a sudden that movement, rebel movement started like beginning of May. Within 2 months, they collected 22 million signatures. 22 million.
22 million?
Yes.
Wow.
No
That's
finance.
a lot of people.
No finance. Yeah. They are young people. They have no money whatsoever. There's nobody pushing them. From simple people all the way to businessmen start signing for the rebel movement. And they said, we have the database. If somebody would like to challenge it, we are ready to mine the database and show you that we have 22 million people signed. Okay. And they appointed the day, said 30th of June. Anybody signed should come out and say it loud to the international community that we don't agree that this Mr. Morsi is our president. So that's how it started, but it snowballed immediately, like within 2 months. Like they said, appointed the 30th of June, maybe the second or third week of May, saying 30th of June is the date, which exactly is a 1 year mark for Morsi.
I know, yeah.
So, and all over a month and a half, the media, the government media and the Muslim Brotherhood group saying, those are like kids playing, there's nobody is gonna go out, the revolution is done. The revolution was, the original one was done against Mubarak, there's no reason now for revolution. And they were talking about maybe a handful of people will go out. They were stunned with the numbers, the millions of people went out.
Do we have any numbers?
Well, the estimated numbers by the military saying in the 23, 24 mark, CNN, they said they counted using Google and it was 32 million.
Wow, that's a lot of people.
Yes.
And what's the population of Egypt?
90 million.
Wow, that's huge.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
So what is it that they're looking for? What do the people of Egypt want?
There was three claims for they wanted from any government. Satisfactory level of living, just standard living, dignity, and justice, social justice. This is the only three demands. He didn't ask for any political aspiration or anything. They asked for three basic rights. I need something to eat. I need somebody to deal with me when it comes to police and everywhere with dignity. And we need to have justice. Like you can't look into a country where people can, like I think they said that 40% of the population lives on less than $1 a day. And you find some consultant who is taking $30,000 a month.
Oh, so big gap.
Yeah, there's
the
no
rich and the
justice.
poor.
They are the people feeling there's no justice.
Okay.
There's no justice in the distribution of the finance.
Now, are you hopeful about this new revolution? Because there was a revolution before, right?
Well,
a year ago, and then it got us to this place. Now there's another revolution. What happens now?
I think number one, people get educated. So
a lot more engaged now.
Now they keep saying, oh, we are not going to do this so that we don't get nailed down like the last time. Like even the people who are politicians who didn't see how it was implanted originally. The third thing, now they start, a lot of people who did really opposed, saying that religious have to be out of politics, or politics have to be, like there's no engagement between political and religious. A lot of people oppose that. After they seen how Muslim Brotherhood employed religion for their political gains, they kept saying, no, now we really don't want that. We would like religious people to stay in religion, political people stay in politics, and if I choose something like, a simple guy actually said something which I like a guy, a very old man, who's saying the Al Jazeera network, the guys who have been propaganda for Muslim Brotherhood, he's asking him, why you're opposing Morsi? Like, Morsi is a good guy, he's praying, they air every Friday, he's praying, and the guy said, yes, originally I thought because he's praying is going to be good. But I discovered that his praying is good for him, but not good for me and my kids. I need some food on the table. So if he's good, that's good for him. If he's bad, bad for him, as long as he does the right job. Like I voted for him not because I want him to pray 5 times a day. I voted for him so that he ruled the country.
He could run the country
and get us in a better shape.
Yeah.
If he can't do the job, then he have to go. And I totally agree. If he can do a good job as a president, it's not going to benefit me if he's a good guy or a bad guy. Of course, I mean, if he's a bad guy, shouldn't be a president. But I'm just saying, if he's too religious or less religious, or he's a scholar, or he's from any other groups or religion, doesn't really bother me as much as he's not able to solve our financial problems. He's not moving with a roadmap to see, okay, in 2 years we'll be here, in 4 years we'll be here, in 6 years we'll be here. There's no planning of any sort. It doesn't look like he's able even to include everybody. Like he's isolating himself by doing things which is, okay, you best off the Azhar, which is like 60% of Muslims in Egypt are really love Azhar, maybe more. So they are not going to agree with him if he attack Azhar. There's a 20% Christians who are really wouldn't like seeing him attacking the Bab and the Cathedral of Egypt. Coptic Church is one of the oldest churches in the world, as some of the people might know. Like, our church started the 1st century.
Exactly.
So we have 2,000 years on institute. You're attacking that. You're not going to get anywhere with that, with Copts or Christian Egyptians. You attack the judicial systems. You're not going to get the judges in your side anyway. You attack the army. You remove the head-ranked people. You're not going to get the army in your side. You are using religion. You are not going to get the scholars, the socialists, any other group of the political attributes. Are not going to be with you. So somebody was like, during 30th of June, one of their propaganda hosts coming and saying, this is just some scholar, Christian, socialists there are protesting against Morsi. So I thought in my head, so what's left? So let's say all the Egyptian went against Morsi except his group. That would be like shorter sentence by if you kept adding the people he pissed off.
Okay, so now he's gone.
He's gone.
So let's not worry about him no more.
Yep.
We have a new interim president.
Yes.
Of the country.
Mr. Adli Mansour is the head of the Supreme
Tell us
Court.
about him.
He's the head of the Supreme Court, so he's the highest judge in the country. So that's by itself putting him in charge, making the coup idea is not there because the army is not ruling. The army interfered only when there's a 23 million people in the streets, and it's going to be an internal fight. If the Muslim Brotherhood groups and their alliance start attacking those protesters, it's going to be a chaos. So I think the army did the correct
responsible thing.
He walked in the street, he said, no fight, everybody's calmly, whoever gonna protest with no violence, he's welcome.
So they came in basically to prevent civil war.
They didn't do a curfew, they didn't prevent people from going in the streets. They said anybody can go in the street, can protest as much as he want, but no violence. If somebody start carrying a weapon or anything, we'll fight. We'll fight him.
Okay.
Which I think a very legitimate action, because as I mentioned to you before the recording, Egypt is not one of the countries which you can buy a gun. Like, there is no licensing for guns. You can't buy a gun. So only people who are either outlaws or in-laws who can carry guns. So either police officers, army, or outlaws. So lately, when things start going really against Morsi's group directions, they start piling up weaponry.
Okay.
You start seeing a lot of shooting, which wasn't the case before. So there was a general feeling that if there's a fight erupted, there will be a lot of innocent people get shot.
All right.
Which is still happening. Like, I hope the army can control all the situation, but
Yes.
we see that more like yesterday, 4 o'clock in the morning, they tried to attack one of the army areas, and the army had to shoot back and try to protect themselves. Like, there's an officer and a soldier get killed by the attackers. So I like, they're trying to now get some sympathy from the outside world, saying the army is shooting the people. How can he do if he's attacked? Like, if I'm in my position as an army area, army zone, you shouldn't be here. And you are not only here, but you are attacking me and shooting me. What do you expect the army to do?
Okay, well, they're doing what they feel is the right thing or the responsible thing to do. Moving forward, leave us with a thought. What is it that you hope to see, or the people of Egypt wish to see something new from this revolution?
Well, number one rule, this is a democratic rule, is you have to include everybody. Like, they have to include all the groups. And I think they are doing that right now. Even the Islamic Muslim Brotherhood youth, the people who say, I think our leaders did something wrong, they are now forming a new
Coalition?
liberal Muslim Brotherhood youth movement. Okay. And I think those guys, we have a hope that those guys will join the rest of the Egyptians in the other side of the fence. So they have to be inclusive, include everybody, don't let anybody dry in the outside. The second thing is, we need a good constitution. So either they revert back, which is now the first or the second decision of the new interim president, is to stop the working with the constitution which Muslim Brotherhood wrote, and he reverted back to the old constitution until they modify or write a new constitution. I think we need to write a new constitution, in my opinion. Okay. So writing a good constitution which comply to all the human rights, right of minorities, equality, dignity, justice, and all the requests from these hungry people have to be looked after. And it have to be done by people who are specialized in that. When Morsi brought in people, can you believe that there's 300 members to write the committee which wrote the constitution? None of them is judge, like none, zero.
Right.
Plumbers, farmers, like I have respect to everybody, but I'm just saying that this
is not the
like
field of
if you
expertise.
are cooking something to introduce in a dinner for some people, are you gonna bring anybody to cook, or you're gonna bring a cook? You need to bring a professional person. Expert. So we need some experts in constitution, which we have a lot, but they left them out because they don't want a balanced constitution. They want a special constitution, an altered constitution. They are not hoping to give everybody a piece of the cake. They are saying, this is our cake, but to make it look light, we'll put some icing on the top.
All right. Well, thank you so much for coming and helping us to understand what is going on in Egypt, and we're definitely going to be watching and following. So we wish you all the best. Thank you once again.
Thank you very much.